This is Replicant Fish. Welcome back. Glad you could join me again. Hope you're having a nice day. Hope you're doing well. If you'd like to support the channel, links to Patreon, PayPal, to the background music of which you can listen to on Spotify, iTunes or other music platforms, as well as some awesome merch. Thank you very much. Why escaping toxic relationships is therapy in itself. You see, the statement answers itself. It's not a question, but the statement answers itself. How it could be therapeutic to escape a toxic relationship. Because it makes sense. But the thing about toxic relationships is, some don't realize that they're in one until it's too late, until the end of it, or until they look back on a relationship or certain relationships they may have had. It's only then they may see how toxic they actually were. See, understand, for you to be in a relationship with someone that's toxic, this person would have to be able to manipulate you, and you would have to fall for the manipulation. And with the manipulation comes emotion, feelings and whatnot. And because of this emotion, because of the feelings you may have for someone else, that is how they can use how you feel about them against you. In a sense, a form of emotional abuse. Now briefly, let's look at the meaning of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is any kind of abuse that is emotional rather than physical in nature. It can include anything from verbal abuse and constant criticism to more subtle tactics such as intimidation, manipulation, and refusal to ever be pleased. Indeed, refusal to ever be pleased. So in emotional abuse and using emotional abusive tactics on someone else, in a sense, what they're doing is lowering the person's confidence and self-esteem in order to keep them there. In a sense, keep them trapped, keep them locked down and locked to the other person. And you see, this is my point as well. How it doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't even have to be loud. It doesn't have to be shouting and screaming and cussing. No, it doesn't have to be as such. It could be very small and subtle manipulative tactics and tricks to intimidate you and make you feel lesser and lesser. You see, the big dramatic emotional outbursts, that's too obvious. So what some have learned is to slowly but surely pick away at you, piece by piece, and do it in very subtle ways, in ways so subtle you barely feel them ripping you apart, because they do so in minute portions rather than big chunks. So the obvious loud and also physical abuse is obvious, but within the emotional abuse, it can be very subtle and small things, tactics, tricks that would mess with you. And in messing with other human beings, some human beings actually, some do lose their minds, some could lose their minds, some question, are they losing their minds? Because in this emotional abuse, gaslighting is going on. In gaslighting, for all the emotional abusive things this person's doing, they would make the victim feel as if nothing's happening, that every little peel and rip is nothing. You're exaggerating. You're making it bigger than it needs to be. Stop exaggerating. Is there something wrong with you? Indeed. And that's the flip back. When people who are gaslighting you and emotionally abusing you, when they flip it back on you. And if it works, it's them convincing you that you are the problem, not them. And you see, most of this happens behind closed doors. It's one of my favorite talking points, behind closed doors, because in manipulating someone else, you have to have the two-pronged effect, the behind closed doors manipulation, where it's more free and open because no one can see it. Indeed. Then you have the more present, more visible, more public manipulation, where the couple can pretend that everything is okay, where the victim is so wound up and confused and maybe just emotionally exhausted that they would just go along with it to show the public nice face that everything is okay. But then in the background, when no one is around, oh yes, that's when it's full blown. Maybe not the heavy blows, but maybe more subtle, small little things. Constant criticism. In many relationships, men have felt that they've been constantly criticized, that nothing they've ever done for this woman was ever good enough, that no matter what they did, she was never happy. She could never be happy in a sense. Content for a period in time, yes, but happy? Yeah, no. So many men go through the constant criticism, which in a sense you could say is nagging. The small little rips, peels, little jabs. It's not a sharp knife, it's a butter knife, but it's constantly poking at the same bruised patch of skin. It's continually poking with the butter knife. Eventually the skin will soften and break. But not for now. It's just the small jabs with a butter knife. Yes, the constant criticism, the nagging that many men go through. You see, when you do escape all of this, for some men, not being around that person, not being around those people, if you will, that would do this to you or be so toxic to you, that in itself is therapy. Because you're no longer battling emotionally or physically, mentally with these other people. You're no longer battling and trying to figure out if you're wrong and if they're right. It's none of that crap. Because once you leave the toxic relationships, it's when you have a chance to find yourself. If you're that focused and if you care enough to find yourself. But the thing is, after many toxic relationships, or even one heavy toxic relationship, some men fall so much that they could never even repair themselves. Some see no points. Some feel as if they had given their best and got nothing but a woman's worst. But you see, as well as it being therapeutic, 'tis the sweetest revenge. 'Tis the sweetest revenge to get better after being with someone toxic. It is to get better and improve after someone has tried to bring you down and break you down. To reduce you to someone lesser than you were before, just to make themselves feel better. No. 'Tis the sweetest revenge to get better after. To not let them see that they have won. To not let them feel success in your downfall. No, never. You see, it's all about moving forward. We are forever moving forward with time. When you give up, when you stop, that is when life and time is dragging you forward. Toxic people are so for a reason. Toxic people are also self-consuming. So with no one to throw their crap at, the most they can do is self-consume. Just make sure you are not a part of their downfall. In other words, focus, observe, remember. The world is yours. Have a nice day.